We've been learning about weathering and erosion in science, and we learned that weathering is the breaking down of rock into smaller pieces, and erosion is the carrying away. I want you to do that with me. Weathering, we break it down. Erosion is the carrying away. Sometimes it gets carried away by wind, sometimes it's by water, like down a river or in a creek, but that's what weathering and erosion is. Now, weathering and erosion can be really cool. It can make cool things like the dirtle door that you see here. And it can also be very destructive. So today we're going to talk about some instances where weathering and erosion is not a good thing. And we're going to talk about some different strategies or ways that people have found to prevent weathering and erosion when it's in a negative way. So the first one we're going to look at is New Orleans. So this is a picture here of New Orleans, and I'm not sure if you can tell, but New Orleans in this picture is underwater. Do you see the water between the houses there? So here's the problem. We know that water can change land, but it can also damage buildings and roads. The city of New Orleans in Louisiana is built on land that is mostly below sea level. Water in nearby lakes and rivers is higher than the level of the city streets. If the water overflows the banks of those lakes and rivers, it floods streets and buildings. And so this was caused by Hurricane Katrina. So Hurricane Katrina was a huge storm, and it destroyed most of New Orleans when it happened. And it's because those lakes and rivers got too full from the hurricane winds and rain, and it just flooded, broke down the barriers and flooded the city. And as you can imagine, these houses were completely destroyed. They had tons of water damage. People lost their lives. It was really a sad and scary thing. So here's the solution to that problem that they did a little too late, right? But the solution is to have a levee. And a levee is a barrier that keeps water from flooding into places where it's not wanted. So New Orleans is surrounded by levees and flood walls, and they're made of earth, concrete, and steel. And the levees are very strong. The tall wall keeps water out of the city, even when storms cause rivers and lakes to overflow. So they had to strengthen these levees around the city of New Orleans so that when storms like Hurricane Katrina come through, it's not going to completely destroy the city in a really quick amount of time. So it says, Lake Pontchartrain sits on one side of New Orleans, and a levee keeps the water in the lake and out of the city. You can see the levee here. And then on the other side of New Orleans is the Mississippi River. And again, there's another levee there to keep that water out of the city as well. So this is one way that we can prevent weathering and erosion is by building a levee to keep water at bay so that it doesn't completely destroy homes. Okay, now there's other times where weathering and erosion are bad as well, and usually that has to deal with farms or gardens that lose the necessary nutrients due to runoff from the water or even the wind blowing away the rich soil. So we're going to look at some solutions. We're going to put on our engineer hats and think like an engineer. And we're going to learn now about another one. So again, levee was the first solution to weathering and erosion that happens in a negative way. Here's another one. It says, people have built buildings, roads, and parking lots. They cover a lot of land. Land that is covered with buildings or pavement cannot soak up rainwater. The water has to drain away. Water running along the ground can cause erosion. It moves soil and rocks from one place to another. It can also wash pollution into ponds and streams. One way to reduce rainwater runoff is to plant a rain garden. A rain garden collects rainwater. It gives water a chance to soak into the ground. So you can see here they've created a rain garden. It says before the rain garden, water collected on the surface, the water had to run downhill to drain away. So do you see how it's draining down this way, and it's going to carry all of that land with it, right? It's going to weather, it's going to break it down, and it's going to erode, it's going to carry it away. So they've added here a little rain garden, which is at a low spot so that rainwater collects in that and it doesn't carry everything down that little hill there with it. Okay, it says the rain garden plants can grow naturally without needing chemicals. Okay, so just like the rainwater doing the runoff down a hill like that, we can also lose sand. So it says stop that sand. It's always windy at the beach. Wind causes erosion of sand dunes along the shore. Roots of seagrasses hold some of the sand in place so it doesn't blow away. People can help protect sand dunes by building windbreaks. A fence can block the wind enough to keep the sand in place. So you can see here they've got, we've got the ocean out here. Might be a little hard to see, but the ocean is out here. And then we've got these grasses here and they're mounds of sand, so those are sand dunes. And then they've built this little fence here, or a windbreak, to help block the wind enough to keep the sand in place so that it's not blowing away. Okay, and then soil is another one. So it says stop that soil. Wind erosion can be a problem for farmers too. The wind can carry away the soil needed for growing crops. Farmers can use fences for windbreaks. They can also plant rows of tall, thick shrubs or trees to block the wind. So here they've got this row here of bushes that are helping to block the wind across the field of lavender. That's why it's purple, because those are lavender plants. So that they can keep the seeds in place so that the seeds can grow, because if those are getting blown away, that's not good. And we've learned that they need soil as well, so it's got to stay kind of grounded there so that it can soak into the soil so it can get the nutrients it needs. Okay, this says rows of fences keep sand along the shore from blowing away. If you look closely at the picture, you can see that the sand dunes have built up all the way to the top of the fence in some areas. So it's so tall that it's on top of the fence even. So it's doing its job though, right? It's keeping it where it needs to be. So now I would like you to think of some things that maybe you've seen in your world that are examples of things that are put in place to help combat erosion and weathering that is negative. So what are some things that you have seen that do that? I'm going to show you a few myself here at Belmont. Hey friends, today I'm coming to you live outside of Belmont. And it's a little bit windy, so you're getting to see some erosion and weathering in action. But I wanted to show you a couple of different things, places where we have weathering and erosion at Belmont that it's not really good weather. It's not the beautiful kind. And so there's been different strategies that they've put in place to help with that weathering and erosion. Here we've got an example of erosion. So you can tell that we've got some nice grass here. Well, kind of nice. Nicer grass over there. And over here, we're having some erosion. It's hard for grass to grow right here because I'm at the top of a little hill. Do you see how the hill slopes down there? And so right here, we have a case of runoff where the water takes the seeds and the grass and it goes down the hill, so it isn't able to grow grass very well here. So this is a problem for a couple of reasons. One is that it gets very muddy because there's no grass here. So when it rains, this is mud or dirt right now, but when it turns to mud, it gets kind of yucky and gross. So you can see a while ago, they tried a strategy of putting down this little green netting. Do you see that there? This is one strategy for helping with slowing down erosion, the carrying away of the grass seeds and that top rich soil. And they put that there to try to help catch the grass seeds before they flow down the little hill there and away from where it's growing. Now, That's not working super well right here. As you can tell, it's still kind of dirt, but this is one strategy that they use to do that. Okay, so here's another example of a way that they're trying to stop weathering and erosion here at Belmont. You can see behind me there is a row of bushes and trees that have been planted there to help with specifically wind erosion, to help slow down the wind a little bit, because we've got a lot of land back there, and especially right now they're building homes back there, you can see, and so there's a lot of loose dirt, a lot of earth that can cause erosion because it's being carried through the wind and then hits down on the building and the sidewalks and the roads, and it can cause erosion to happen from there. So there's another example of one way to slow down erosion. Okay, so here I am at a third location. I'm now kind of in front of the school, and it is almost pickup time, so there's lots of cars coming. But you'll see behind me, there are two different things that are in place right now to help with erosion. One are the black tarps. I'm not sure if you can see them, but they're kind of all around back there. And those are in place because currently they're building houses and roads out there. And so there's a lot of mud that can accumulate and wash off into the streets. And so they've put up those little black tarps there that help keep the dirt back from running off into the streets, because they want that good soil still to be there for the homes. The other one that's in place, scoot you around a smidge, are those little orange fences as well. We learned about how they use fences like that at the beach to help with the sand dunes, to help preserve the sand dunes. And same kind of thing here, they've got sticks with that orange netting to help keep the dirt from blowing out of there as well. So trying to kind of help keep things in place to slow down or prevent erosion and weathering as well. So now your job is to go around your house and see if you can find something that has been put in place to help slow down the effects of weathering and erosion.